I've been talking for a number of days, as have most governors, about testing as the next phase that we have to enter into. We're starting to talk about reopening and planning reopening.
Should Georgia really be allowing hairstylists, tattoo artists, and massage therapists to go back to business, considering those three occupations, for starters, depend on close proximity, human-to-human contact?
President Trump has called the reopening of America a beautiful puzzle, and puzzling might be a good word for it. A handful of states are saying they're ready to begin the reopening process, but a new model suggests at least a dozen states should wait until June 8th or even later to consider relaxing social distancing measures. That includes Georgia, which is planning to reopen some businesses this Friday.
So as you see the stories out of Georgia and Tennessee with plans to reopen the economy as early as this Friday, what's your reaction?
It really depends on the details. You have to look at, first off, what's happening with the virus in a community. If you're not seeing consistent decreases, it's very risky to open. It's a risky experiment. It's trial and error, and that's the kind of error that could result in the loss of life.
Everyone is obviously concerned about how you reopen, and if you reopen in a way that is too rushed and you're not prepared, you could actually see the infection rate go up, which is the last thing that anybody wants. And testing is the best way to inform and educate yourself as you're going through the reopening process.
There are growing concerns. Some governors are moving much too rapidly. White House guidelines recommend states have more robust testing for COVID, plus tracing programs already in place before those restrictions are allowed to be eased.
You're talking about encouraging hundreds of thousands of people to come to Las Vegas. I get the financial losses people are suffering, which is awful. But you're encouraging, hundreds of thousands of people coming there in casinos, smoking, drinking, touching slot machines, breathing circulated air, and then returning home to states around America and countries around the world. Doesn't that sound like a virus petri dish? How is that safe?
What it sounds like? You're being an alarmist. I'm not. I've lived a long life. I grew up in the heart of Manhattan. I know what it's like to be with subways and on buses and crammed into elevators. I think you are by saying what you have just said.
So you don't believe there should be any social distancing? You don't believe that this is
Of course I believe there should be.
Some North Carolina public beaches are now open. Some retail, too, like department stores. In Texas, Dallas County officials voted to extend their stay-at-home order through the middle of next month.
Texans really want to get back to work. It's kind of part of the Texas DNA.
But Governor Greg Abbott says his forthcoming plan for reopening will overrule any local policy.
In Texas, there's already mixed messaging. Take Dallas, where protesters are already disputing the shutdowns. County commissioners have actually extended stay-at-home orders until May 15th.
I don't know how you really open businesses without opening schools. You want me to go to work? Hallelujah. What do I do with my kids?
You announced Accelerate South Carolina. How are businesses to reopen if schools will remain closed and we may have parents who have to stay home and watch their children because they don't have that child care option now?
Those are the kind of things that the group we've put together, a representative group of virtually every aspect of South Carolina life, to accelerate the revitalization of those buildings, the businesses. Those are the kinds of questions and ideas that are going to be addressed and starting at 4 o'clock tomorrow.
He said there are smarter ways that we can go back to our economy that we had before, where businesses can open up again, recognizing that there's still going to be social distancing, recognizing that we're going to take bigger precautions. Maybe they're going to have a thermometer where they check your temperature before you go into a building. Or before you go into a work establishment, and make sure that if somebody's got a high temperature over 100 degrees, you go and test them.
Chinese researchers have shown how this virus spreads, and I just want to put up for our viewers. This is a restaurant.
Anderson, you are tough.
No, I'm not
We're
talking.
back to China. This isn't China.
Yeah,
this is Las Vegas, Nevada.
Wow. Okay, that's really ignorant. This is a restaurant. And the yellow circle, that's an ignorant statement. That's a restaurant, and yes, it's in China, but there are human beings too. That yellow is a person who is.
Governors in some states are beginning to reopen non-essential businesses. That's despite pushback from some health officials who say that there is still not enough testing.
It concerns me deeply that we are still seeing an upward trend in our state and that we are rushing to reopen businesses. As of 7 p.m. last night, we had a 4% increase in those who tested positive and nearly a 6% increase in deaths. And so we're not headed in the right direction. What I would say is that certainly there are real concerns related to our economy and people being able to get back to work. But I think as leaders, our responsibility is to make it more palatable for people to stay at home.
You're there in Georgia, which is set to reopen here in just a couple of days, and there's new modeling that shows the state actually won't be able to safely relax social distancing measures until at least June 19th.